Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Let's talk about life-changing benefit. Now, look, there's a couple that pop to mind when I think of life-changing. One is obviously VA disability compensation, especially at the 100% level. That is a life-changing benefit. However, there is another benefit that I believe is life-changing if used appropriately. And I wanted to talk about that with you. Before we jump into it, though, I want to throw in a special thank you to Robin Shane. Robin Shane, thank you so much for the super comment, super chat. I really do appreciate your support so very much. All right, so I'm going to talk about utilizing your VA benefit to absolutely change your life, change the trajectory. Now, look, it might not fit every single one of us in our current situation, our current life, what have you. You might be settled in with where you're at, whatever, and you're good to go. Or maybe you're retired and life is moving the direction you need it to move. But there are definitely many of our brothers and sisters out there that are looking for a life-changing opportunity, and here it is, right? The door is in front of you and there's an opportunity. The example that I'm going to give through this is absolutely the Automotive Dealership Institute. Why? Because you can land a $100,000 plus year job with 4 weeks of crash course in-person type environment where it's just really drilling in all of the aspects that you need to learn to become a finance manager for an automobile dealership or motorcycles or RVs or whatever your desire is. Here's the bottom line. You can absolutely utilize VR&E, Veterans Readiness and Employment, or you can utilize your post 9/11 GI Bill. If you have options for both, I would absolutely do the VR&E first if able to, before you exhaust out your post 9/11. Use that after for something else. Again, this is a 4-week program that will absolutely change your life. Why? And now look, I get it. Not everybody's cut out to be an automotive finance manager, but guess what? All of us are buying cars, and guess what else? I would much rather have a veteran sitting across the aisle or the seat or whatever, the desk. There you go, that thing. Sitting across the desk from me, who I can have a conversation with and be like, hey, look, let me know what's really going on here. And I would rather have a veteran there than a non-veteran, I'm just saying. So in some weird way, it's going to impact every one of us whenever we go to purchase a car, right? I would like to think that we have each other's backs, that type of stuff. So here's the deal. Let's walk through this for a minute. Let's think this through. Not every single career requires you to absolutely have a degree in X, right? They don't. Now, if you want to go be a lawyer, a doctor, a teacher, a psychologist, whatever, yeah, you're going to need to have regionally accredited, education under your belt at the bachelor's and master's and so on. So if that's not your ball of wax, if you don't want to do that, there's other options. This is a 4-week. Look, is there many other options out there that in 4 weeks you can go from, hey, look, I'm working at wherever, don't like my job, I'm not making enough money, I'm not whatever the case is, and in 4 weeks, complete your training. And then guess what? The Automotive Dealership Institute actually helps you find a job nationwide. Now, here's the second piece to this in my mind, is if I wanted to move, and I've said this before, and I've wanted to move throughout, I'm 50 years old now. There's been multiple courses through my life where I'm like, man, I really would like to get out of this city, get out of this town, get out of this county, get out of this state. If you're in one of those buckets, guess what? Leverage the Automotive Dealership Institute. Get your 4 weeks and be like, here's my wish list. I would work anywhere in any one of these areas and have them help you find a job in any one of those areas. That is by far the hardest thing to do when you're looking to change your life. If you're looking to move somewhere, is finding the job there. This is a way to do that. Cut through it all and make it happen for you. Now, let's say that you end up not loving it, right? Look, there's no reward without risk. We can all agree. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing. It's also true. Now, let's say that it turns out to not be what you wanted it to be. Two things. Well, there are two things. One, if you utilize that whole program to get you into a place where you wanted to move and live and whatever, good. You're squared away. You got to where you want to be. That's a good thing. Now you can network, meet other people, whatever. Maybe utilize your post 9/11, continue to get education, whatever, and then bridge that gap. Now, let's say you didn't utilize it to move out of your area. You're still in your same area. Well, guess what? At least you tried, and you're probably financially, I would think, in a better position. And hopefully that takes a little bit of pressure off while you're you could be a little more picky with your next move, in my opinion, right? Now, ideally, it works out. You love it. Everything's great. There's that. So let's talk about a few things here with the Automotive Dealership Institute. And I will tell you this, they are absolutely veteran friendly. I've talked with the leadership staff there multiple times. They have a VA liaison that's there to answer any of your questions. If you have any questions, if it's even a thought, make the phone call, have a conversation. Information is free, and take advantage of that. The other thing is that the average income for a finance and insurance manager throughout the nation is over $200,000 per year. That's amazing. That's big money, and it is because the automotive industry is a $1 trillion industry. So there's that. In addition, 90% job placement rate within 90 days of your graduation, which is also truly fantastic. I am telling you that this is a great opportunity for many individuals out there. Many people who have watched these videos have went on to go ahead and go through the program and thus get hired on somewhere and are now working these jobs. I've done a couple interviews with folks. Please search the channel for ADI or Automotive Dealership Institute, and you may find some of those to watch as well. I'm going to talk here just briefly about VR&E. Veterans Readiness and Employment is a fantastic benefit that many of us have the ability to utilize, and many of us just don't even understand that it's even a benefit out there. This is, okay, they like to frame it up like it's an employment benefit. However, if education or training is the conduit for your employment, then they're going to pay for your training or education. It's important to understand that. It's not an education benefit. It is an employment benefit, but if education's needed, then they'll pay for your education. It's a funny world, I know. I tell you this because if you apply for VR&E and you go in with, I want to get trained up in automotive finance, that's what I want to do. Sometimes they don't like when you come in telling them that you want training or education. Sometimes you need to play the game and let them walk you down that path. So instead, it's like, I'd really like to get a job doing this. Well, do you have any of that sort of experience? No, but I really do enjoy working with people, talking with people. I like cars. I like this. I like that. I like numbers, And then they go, well, maybe that is a good thing for you. And guess what? We can pay for the training for you to get that. Haha. And then you're going to go, oh, wow, that's a great idea. Whatever. So it's ridiculous that you have to play the game, right? But just be aware that the voc rehab counselors, they're really trained, I guess, to really look at the end result and figuring out what the piece is missing and then fill that void, right? And if it's training or education, they're going to fill that. So how can you qualify for VR&E, Veterans Readiness and Employment? Well, let me tell you this. If you have at least a 10% rating and you can point out that your disability, or disabilities that are service connected, are inhibiting your ability to continue your current line of work, it's a pretty easy process to get approved. You just need to be able to articulate that. So here would be the example, right? Let's say, I don't know, maybe you're a mechanic, right? Maybe you're a mechanic in the military, you got out of the military, you're still a mechanic, but now you kind of have some, I don't know, blood pressure issues or whatever. And your doctor says, look, you can't be, doing stuff with your hands above your head and doing this type of work anymore. You need to find something a little more calm and relaxed or whatever to keep your blood pressure in check. Okay, cool. So maybe your high blood pressure service connected and you have that conversation that your doctor said you can't really be doing this mechanic work anymore. But you really do enjoy working with people and you enjoy the camaraderie, if you will, of an automobile dealership. Maybe you worked at a dealership and that you wouldn't mind working on the inside, maybe something like finance, right? That you're good with numbers. Maybe you were ordering things or ordering parts and stuff, and you were balancing things and doing whatever, right? So you can kind of leverage that into the conversation, and then they can tell you, hey, look, let's explore this. So here's what it says directly from the VA's website for a couple different things, right? So let me jump into the VR&E eligibility. All right, I got it pulled up for you. One of these things must be true, okay? Actually, both of these things must be true. So these two things must be true. You did not receive a dishonorable discharge, meaning that you are eligible from a discharge perspective, a veteran status perspective, and you have a service-connected disability rating of at least 10% from VA. So you have a connected VA disability. Now, you can also be still on active duty as well, and I'll touch on that in a minute here. But for a veteran with a 10% at least, when they receive your Veterans Readiness and Employment application, they're going to schedule you an initial evaluation with a vocational rehabilitation counselor. The VRC will determine if you're entitled to receive VR&E benefits. So it's a two-step process. The first step is you have to at least have a service-connected disability, and you must have a other than dishonorable type of a discharge, and now you are eligible to apply for VR&E benefits. The counselor, which I don't fully agree with the amount of power that they have to decide yes or no. It's too random in some cases, depending on which counselor you get. I personally applied 3 times, was denied the first 2, and approved the last one for VR&E. So in any case, the VRC, the counselor, will determine if you are actually entitled to the benefit based on if your story resonates, right? So if you were discharged from active duty before January 1st, 2013, you have a basic period of eligibility that's a 12-year period. Now, there's 2 time frames in which they start that 12-year period if you discharged before January 1st, 2013. The date you received notice of your date of separation from active duty, 12 years from that, or the date you received your first VA service-connected disability rating, which is typically the case. For most folks, it's you got your service-connected disability rating, start the 12-year clock, that's your window of opportunity. Now, that can you can get around that if you have a serious employment handicap, so keep that in mind. Now, if you were discharged on or after January 1st, 2013, the 12-year basic period of eligibility does not apply to you, so you're good to go. Now, if you're still in the military and you're getting ready to get out, this is important. You can actually apply for Veterans Readiness and Employment if you are still in, which is probably the ideal time. So at least one of these things must be true to be eligible to apply if you are still actually in the military. You have a 20% or higher pre-discharge disability rating. It's a memorandum rating, and you will soon be leaving the military. Or or it could be you're waiting to be discharged because of a severe illness or injury that occurred while you were on active duty. So in other words, you're being medically discharged. So with that, how can you go about it? You can apply for these benefits online is probably the easiest way to go ahead and get through the VR&E application process. You can just Google search VR&E application, and it should just take you right to the VA's website. For that, you log in and you go from there. There are multiple different avenues that you can take with VR&E. I'm just going to rattle these off for you real quick, and then we'll end it. There's, I don't know, maybe it looks like 8 different bullet points. So depending on your needs and goals, services may include, and these are services provided by the Veterans Readiness and Employment. They may include a complete evaluation to determine your abilities, skills, and interest for employment, professional or vocational counseling and rehabilitation planning for employment services such as job training, resume development, and other work readiness support, help finding and keeping a job, including the use of special employer incentives and job accommodations, on-the-job training, apprenticeships, and non-paid work experiences, post-secondary education and training at college, vocational, technical, or business schools. And the last 2 here are supportive rehabilitation services, including case management, counseling, and medical referrals. Last one, and this is one of the ones out there that folks aren't just not aware of, and that is independent living services to help you live as independently as possible. With that, thanks for watching. I appreciate you so very much. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.